Yeah, it was just it was a lot of them were a lot of them were embarrassing. There was a couple. I remember there was times where I'd go up and try to I do like one song. I get like halfway through the next song, and I'd be so nervous by that point. I couldn't remember any of the words. And there's a couple times I remember there was one time in particular that I just walked off halfway through the song, put my guitar in the case, and I just left. I didn't even couldn't even stay in there. Just total, just total freak out.
Just embarrassment.
And I never drank in bars either. Like I wasn't really a social drinker, so I was just there to try to do the mic. So it was kind of, I was a little out of place anyway. I feel kind of out of place in a bar to start with. So
yeah, it's back when you could smoke in bars. There's a whole vibe to it. People smoking and drinking, and yeah, definitely, bombing in a place like that when the audience there's like 5 people and they're bored.
Yeah, there was one like that. It was in Matoka. It wasn't that far from where I lived. The place is gone now, but it was about as big as the room we're in here, if that. Like the ceiling tiles were yellow from where everybody had smoked in it since the beginning of time. Yeah. But that was my little spot. Those little type of spots.
You did covers. What'd you play? What was your go-to?
Back then, it was like I don't know, Fishing in the Dark, Nitty Gritty Band, or like any of those old Hank Jr. songs, like any of those bar type, David Allan Coe, like You Never Call Me by My Name, any of that kind of stuff. And I haven't even played any of those in forever now, but that was any of those ones where you get people singing along and stuff. That's what I'd always try to do,
Yeah, that song you performed, Take Me Home, Country Road. How's that go? West Virginia.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
John Denver was just one of those guys that who knows where he would have went long term if he wouldn't have passed. But
it's a fun song that I love. I shouldn't, but I love is what is it? Thank God I'm a Country Boy.
I think that's what I liked about John Denver was he was a little bit he let himself be a little bit corny in the spirit of having fun with it. Great example. There's this older guy that not a lot of people have heard of named Roy Clark, but my farm's like a mile down the road from Roy Clark's old farm, but he used to be on Hee Haw. I don't know if you ever heard of that old show from the 60s or whatever, but crazy dude. He could pick any instrument up. There's videos on YouTube of him, but he would just sit there and just pick anything up and just rip it to death. But he would always just be real silly about it. He never took himself too seriously,
Some people go to the fun place, some people go to the dark place.
Yeah.
Country can do both. You more often go to the dark place to the pain.
Yeah, well, especially some of the new songs that are coming out, they'll be probably not. I mean, I don't know what they'll be. I don't know what is country anymore. Anyway, I don't know that many people who listen to the type of music that I grew up listening to probably listen to country radio anymore. Anyway, I think there's quite a lot of people who've sort of disowned that space. In commercialized country, you only really get what sells, and a lot of what sells isn't necessarily what matters.
Well, you had that whole experience where they take what you recorded and polish it, quote unquote, try to make it perfect, and in so doing destroy the soul of the thing. And so probably that happens with these big artists. They're so famous. It's like a machine. And so what the machine does is it over polishes things. And so the raw power of the person, the uniqueness of the person, the soul of the person is gone if you do that.
Yeah. Well, I think professionalism and applying the tactics of corporate America to anything that is baseline artistic is not going to end well.
They're all individually brilliant, but together this corporate speak comes out.
Yeah.
Just the soul of the people dissipates. It disappears. Why are you all pretending that life is not terrible and beautiful and you're both scared shitless and excited and this guy's going through a divorce, this person just fell in love, you're forgetting the intensity of life with this corporate 9 to 5 hi John, it's great to see you today. Oh, you too, you as well. But when I look at it, I'm like, why am I whining? I feel like a Bukowski type character because they're all really nice. They're all good people, but something is gone when you have this corporate machine.
Well, they're there to fill a role contractually, and if they bring too many of their human elements into that, then they jeopardize losing their sense of security, and it's all just out of fear. It's out of fear of losing your job. I mean, it's the reason why all the songs say Oliver Anthony and not Christopher Lunsford on them. It's fear of. It's so difficult to, especially now. It seems. I mean, who knows? I was never around in the 40s or 50s to work a job. I'm sure they were probably pretty miserable back then, but they talk about now how difficult it is, the impossibility of having a single family household or anything else. But when you find a decent paying job that you can do without it just torturing you every day, that's a pretty important thing now, you know? Like, and so it's pretty easy to just, it's pretty easy to kind of turn yourself into a robot for 8 or 10 hours a day out of fear of, it's like, you don't want to be yourself too much because maybe part of yourself isn't something that's accepted in this like dystopian nightmare that you go to work at every day. And so you just got to do your best to just not step on any toes or do anything that makes you stand out too much, you know? And now it's like, now, like when you scroll through some of these videos of people like even when I was still working my lame job, it was like, there was this whole big thing of people talking about quiet quitting or something like that, where they were just going to go to work, but not really do anything. But
That hurts me so much. That hurts me when you just stop, when you're there, but you're not really there. That makes me so sad.
yeah, so then they wonder, these companies just slowly kind of fall apart and disintegrate because they're so worried about structure. And, you know, like, I mean, God, man, even in America today, our culture has become, because so many big corporations own and manage everything that we live under, like food, agriculture, healthcare, like social media. It's all in corporate structures that it's almost like a lot of the problems we find ourselves in now with society, I think, are like, it's just because of, it's almost like corporate HR has been implemented into our whole thought process of everything. You know, it's like, I think that's kind of what you're touching on, though. It's like, it's hard to be a human and be a good little corporate employee at the same time. And as our whole society moves more into like becoming like basically one big corporation, it's like, you don't want to piss the HR lady off, so it's a lot easier for me to just beep boop. We're all sort of just turning into robots, you know.
And that's I've talked to great engineers about this. Jim Keller is a legendary engineer. Elon Musk is another example. That you need that, I don't know what's a nice term for it, but you need the asshole because you want to get to the ground truth of things, to the first principle of things. Like, how do we simplify? How do we make it more efficient? How do we move faster? How do we get shit done? And that has no place for this kind of polite speak. And then, you know, other great team members swoop in and like repair the damage that the tornado has done.
Do you think that's because I'm not super well versed about all this, so I'm probably dumb to even mention it, but this guy who's been helping me with doing a documentary, he's been following me around since the very first show at August of 23. His background was doing promotional videos for Boeing, like for on their new spacecraft to pitch it to whoever. And so we touched base a little bit on Boeing, and of course they're having a lot of problems now, it sounds like. And he was comparing that with SpaceX, or with, you know, like I think it's that exactly what we touched on with that thought process of that sort of dehumanization within companies. I think that's what ultimately causes, maybe, I don't know if there's a connection there or not, but it seems like Boeing is would be more of that. They don't have that tornado. They're very like like he was telling me, even just with his protocols and some of the people he worked with, like everything's just very, you know, lightly touch everything. No one, you don't touch anything too hard.
So it's not just HR. It's just this managerial class where it's like Bob from this department has to schedule a meeting with John from this department, and Debbie, like they have to have a meeting 2.5 weeks from now, and then there's paperwork, and that bureaucracy that's created in the managerial class just slows everything down. And one of the things that slowing everything down does is it really demotivates the people that are actually doing the shit. Like the people on the ground, the engineers that are building stuff, it's again soul drenching to like be excited, show up, and now you hit this wall of paperwork. Like you have to wait for John and Debbie, and I forgot the third guy's name that I imagined in my head, to have a meeting. And then you kind of slow down and you disappear in terms of that fire, that passion that's required to create big things. So
yeah, because they don't believe, there's a lack of leadership, and if they don't believe in that leadership, then why the hell would they be motivated? I mean, I remember a while back watching a Jocko Willink talk about that when he was in leadership, when he was leading his guys. I think he mentions it in his book. Is probably where I remember seeing it. One of his books, and he talks about like how important it was for the people under him in rank to believe in the actions he was giving them, even if he necessarily didn't agree with them himself. It was like it's really hard to take orders and go and like to have human spirit, and especially in something that's innovative, and not if you working for a company where you just think everybody's dumb. I mean, I can certainly relate with that. I mean, God, that's all. At my old job, that's all we did was we spent half our day just talking about how dumb we thought everybody was that was above us. You know, it's like it's easy to fall into that in the corporate world, and so yeah, the morale gets terrible, and everyone suffers as a result of it. You know, like the people at the top who are implementing all that dysfunction suffer, and the people at the bottom. It's like it's not good for anybody. I had thought now that I'm doing this that I could escape away from that, but that exact same mentality and that dysfunction and that inefficiency, like I still battle it every day.
That's why it takes unique characters to lead the way. Such unique characters are very much needed in the music industry to revolutionize everything, cut through the bureaucracy, the bullshit that ultimately is just a machine that steals money and doesn't get anything done, really. We'll talk about it. By the way, all the love in the world to Jocko. He's great. I've been going through lots of ups and downs in life, lots of low points for myself over the past 3 years, really, but recently especially, and he always texts in this very high testosterone way of like of like, you good, bro? Just checking in. I mean, he's a good man. He's a good man. This is obviously an inspiration to millions of people, but also just is a good human being himself. So
maybe one thing that we felt similarly, I would imagine you way more than me, is just feeling like wow, I have the ability to influence, or the ability to either bring truth or to improve people's lives, or you know, every word that you say sometimes matters so much, and you're just like, man, I'm an idiot. Like I don't know, you know, like I would have never guessed. I mean, we were kind of talking about that before, about like, it would have never guessed that that this would have turned into all this, but it is a weight that you bear, whether you really even acknowledge it or not, you know, like,
yeah. And I think it's like, you know, the songs you've created, they speak to the human condition, to the struggle of everyday working people in a society that has the elites that try to take advantage of those working people. And you're just speaking through your music those truths of how life is. And then that has a huge impact on a lot of people. That's really positive. But then you also get attacked and misrepresented and lied about from different angles. And just the turmoil, the intense chaos of that, it disorients. It disorients me. Like, to be attacked by very large number of people, to be lied about, to be just it because I love people and I have a general optimism about humanity. It just disorients me. Like, it gives me this feeling like I generally, just like you said, think of myself as kind of an idiot, not really knowing what I'm doing. And when a lot of people tell you that you're correct, you don't know what you're doing, you start to like want to hide. You want to hide from the world, hide from yourself. And then there's also just the chemistry of the brain. It's like you shake up the brain a little bit, it starts getting weird, and so it can get on many fronts. It can get real lonely when you're getting attacked, when you're kind of fucking things up. In many ways, it can get lonely. Yeah, so so you get a text from Jocko like, you good? Yeah. And then I have good friends. Like Andrew Huberman's been great. Rogan's been great.
Well, you know, Lex, however many years ago, was in a different place in society than Lex is now, and so it's like every conversation you have or every relationship you have is inherently different, even if you aren't any different. Friends that you had from before, maybe, or even just new people you meet, your interactions with them are going to be a lot different than if this wasn't a thing. And so it's like that can be tricky too. When you've spent your whole life, you know, from the time you're 3 years old and you're starting to play with other kids and like developmentally learning like how to share and how to interact, and you're playing, you know, you're playing on the playground with kids and learning how to like set rules and boundaries and how to like basically fit into society, and like, so you have this whole learning pattern up until whatever point in time when success happens, and then it's like all that shifts pretty dramatically, all, you know, in a relatively short period of time. And so like, how do you think like managing your previous friendships, or your like, you know, how has that been tricky for you, or like,
yeah, it's been tough. I value deep, close, long-term friendships, and yeah, but I mean, I have amazing friends, but they certainly do treat me a little different. They bust my balls noticeably less.
Yeah. And
Like,
you need that sometimes.
not sometimes, all the time. First of all, it's how dudes show love is making fun of each other. At least my friends.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when you watch, man, I'm gonna get in trouble. But when you watch like women interact, they're often like really positive towards each other. Like, oh, you look great. This, like,
Yeah.
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 When you
Yeah.
watch dudes interact, like close friends, they're just like, I mean, busting each other's balls nonstop, making fun of each other. It's just, and so yes, that has been a little bit harder. I try to break those walls, like, but that's why with the famous friends, it's a little bit easier because they can still like Rogan roasts me nonstop. And it just feels good. I just sit there and get made fun of, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I still do it all the time. It's just a different experience now, but I'm like a Goodwill junkie. Like, most of even my clothes were from Goodwill, but like I have this like addiction with buying paintings from Goodwill, like the
Nice.
$8 paintings where it looks like somebody was following along with like a Bob Ross
Yeah.
video and it didn't work out quite right. Like I buy every one of those.
Yeah.
I'll go in there and buy like 10 of, and so just even, anytime you got into public now, it's just like, it's going to be a little different than it was. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm trying to deal with it, but all of it, when you talk to world leaders, when you step into politics a little bit, and you apparently stepped into politics even though you never meant to, you're not a political person. That world is like, what the fuck? It's very intense, especially at an intense moment in history, in an extremely divided country. So
yeah, like saying that I'm not in politics, people are like, well, of course you're in politics. And I don't know whether I am or not, but it just, I do think a lot of people in politics, like as far as the people who sit on the internet all day and argue about stuff on X or on whatever, Facebook and all, like, I do think their heart is in it for the right reasons. They observe that there's a lot of things wrong in the world that they'd like to see different. It's just, how do you get those people out of this 4x4 square and like really like they're entrapped in a same kind of box that the people at Boeing might be with that structure. It's too they're it's the tornado metaphor. I mean, but it applies in politics too. Like there needs to just be a tornado through politics, and we need to just like lay all this other stuff aside and just figure out what's really pissing everybody off, what's really affecting our quality of life. A lot of times we're arguing over the symptoms of problems instead of identifying the problems, if that makes any sense. I mean, if Jordan Peterson were here, he would tell us about fire and how important that is and burning and like it, but it's all the
water
same.
And fire and ice metaphor, and there would definitely be a connection to the Bible, and then we would receive a 3-hour lecture. And
but it's true. But it's all true. Like
it's all true.
It's all 100% accurate. Yeah, that's the crazy thing. But it all ties into that same thing. Like in politics now, it's almost like there's a rule book that you have to follow, and if you can't agree with this unless you also agree with that. It's like, and maybe it's like the way that we receive information about what's going on in the political landscape is always so biased, and it's like it's contingent upon this algorithm, this like algorithmic system that we live under, where we're fed. It's like we're almost fed certain subcategories, and it's easy to fall into that because you don't like hearing things you disagree with, and so it's a lot easier to just turn the TV on or go on Facebook and look at whatever page posts things that you're going to consistently agree with every day, and that's not going to challenge the way you think in any little way, or like expand your thinking at all. It's easy to just. It's kind of like it's a cult like type of thing. It's like, this is what we all agree with, and if you don't, then go on get, like. But it doesn't. We're far too complicated for it to really work that way.
Well, this actually relates to one of my favorite things in your conversation with Jordan, where you're just where you're just shooting the shit about like playing live music, and he goes to Kierkegaard.
Yes,
she's like Soren Kierkegaard, the philosopher. Yes. I love Jordan so much.
I do too.
He just goes to Carl Jung and Nietzsche, and this idea from Kierkegaard that the crowd is untruth. So when there's elements to the crowd that loses the humanity and the honesty of an individual that makes up the crowd, because the default incentive of the crowd is to conform to some kind of narrative. It's like a distributed system that arrives at a narrative, and the narrative holds control over that crowd, as opposed to the individual humans who are thinking for themselves and being honest with their own thoughts and realities and so on. And so that he was saying that as a reason from a communication perspective to speak to individuals in the crowd, not to the crowd. So from the performer perspective, the moment you speak to the crowd, you're speaking to the lie that is the crowd, according to Soren Kierkegaard. It's pretty hardcore. Kierkegaard is pretty hardcore. Jordan's pretty hardcore.
But that is true. I mean, specifically in my case, I mean, really, it applies more than it probably does in a lot of cases with crowds and music. You know, talking about Richmond, I wasn't necessarily even excited that Richmond did as well as it did. It was like, in a way, it was almost like alarming that it did so well, you know? And so those crowds that show up, like, maybe they do like my music, but I also think they're there for something. There is something bigger about it. I mean, I wish I would have done a better job of having people there at shows to capture some of those crowds I had in 24, man.
You mean the size, the intensity?
The intensity. Like, it was revolutionary almost.
Song of Revolution. Yeah, I think a redemption song from Bob Marley. Like that song, it just connected with people. There's something there.
Well, and so many people identified different elements. Like I said, it goes back to when we were kind of talking when we first got here, but it was crazy how it was almost like at the beginning, along with the scrutiny and some of the other things, it was a lot of different people like almost fighting over me or fighting over it, like, because it resonated with it resonated with people who voted differently than each other, which is probably a pretty terrifying thing if you're in the business of keeping people divided and angry at each other. So it was one of the only times that I can think where there was that much of a sense of unity among people who otherwise wouldn't. I mean, I think about 9/11 when I was a kid. I was in 4th grade, but God, man, people just put everything aside there for a little while, and it was kind of like there's bigger problems that just aren't in our face, and if they're in your face for a second or two, you realize like it's hard in your mind to create a graph that's got like all these. But we argue about a lot of these problems, but if you were to really look at them, like if you really just stand back and look at all the problems we spend time focusing about on the internet versus all the things that are affecting us, like that really, and probably at our core even piss us off, it's got to be very disproportionate. And like the reason it got the reaction it did is because we all, like, no matter what it is that we're upset about or what we think needs to be different in the world or our opinions of things or how we're raised or what our parents taught us, it's like I think we all feel a little bit out of control in this new society. We all feel like we probably all feel like we're falling into this kind of like corporate power structure where we all are just robots. We're not allowed to be ourselves and be human almost, And
there was enough people feeling that. I mean, people on the left feeling like the people in power are fucking over the working class. People on the right feeling the exact same with different words assigned to it. The deep state, fucking over middle America.
Yeah.
Whatever the narratives are. And they're just, when enough of that is happening, again, with the corporate polite speak, there's something about politeness that's really dangerous. I feel like there was a lot of politeness in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, great example. Yeah.
Underneath that, it's like Chernobyl, which is this nuclear power plant that melted down. I feel like the bureaucracy needs politeness and civility and paperwork to function.
Mm-hmm.
And then atrocities can happen underneath that.
Mm-hmm.
So people in power with a smile on their face can just do horrific things.
Mm-hmm.
And then give propaganda that, look, it's rainbows and sunshine and unicorns. Yeah. So people that are rude, I mean, I'm starting to awaken to this a little bit. Like, you need a little, like Tom Waits says, I like my town with a little drop of poison. You need some poison, some swearing, some meanness, some bullshit, some like intensity to shake up a system. Because when it sort of converges towards this polite bureaucracy, the atrocities can happen and hidden away.
And what's probably the most terrifying to me is that politeness is just theatrical, whereas it emulates the respect that we would normally give each other in society if we were healthy and functional.
What was the process of writing that song? I mean, it really spoke to the pain of and anger of millions of people. So there's magic there. Yeah. Was that how many edits? How many like lines did you write? Were there any lines that you were like tormented by, haunted by, come back, should I do it this way or that?
Do you have I don't know, can you pull TikTok up on this? So if you go to my page, so if you go
There's
down,
some chickens.
Go down pre-Richmond. You can see the original version of Richmond where I put it up.
This is so cool to see the evolution.
There it is. Okay, so that's if you play that, that's
I have too many unfinished songs.
Yeah, play that. Click that and play it.
I've been selling my soul.
724.
Oh wow!
For bullshit place, so I can sit out here, waste my life away, drag back home, drink my troubles.
And if you read through this, it's so funny. Everybody's like, "You're about to blow up." But
that's the world's gotten to people like me.
That's all I had.
Like
so I had just that.
You should probably finish this one. Might be real popular. That's a post from a few days later.
That was in July.
Fuck. That's so inspiring.
So
man.
That's what I had.
That's so inspiring. That's what, like, a couple of weeks before you posted the final.
Well, that's all I had. That's all I had written at that point. Like that in my mind. That's the inspiration for the song was that little bit, and I wrote that just because I was on job sites all day, and going into like all these just terrible places to work, like dealing with different contractors and stuff. You were talking about wanting to go and talk to blue collar people and all. It's like, that's what I did for work basically for 8 years, was build long-term relationships with people in blue collar. I was in the industrial space. So I would sometimes I'd talk to 20 different people a day, when you sit in a job site trailer and talk to a group of dudes, like, and you're not there with some news camera, you're just there as like a random dude. Like, you hear so much about what really goes on behind the scenes of the structure of what builds this country and keeps it going. And I think that's probably what it was. It was just it was how I felt, but also how I guess a lot of other, like, it was just, I don't know, it just seemed like the truth. So
you jotted down even to the details, like in a notebook, like those words? No,
it's always just on my phone. I would just keep recording like, so if you were to go back to TikTok, like, and look at any of those original videos, so like the songs that ended up charting, let's say, like the ones that were on there that charted with Richmond, like this, I've Got to Get Sober. So literally,
that's a good song. Yeah.
So literally what I did was this video I took at my property. This is my carport where my camper was. Mm-hmm. And, I took this video. I went to some sketchy virus-ridden MP3 to WAV file or MP4 to WAV file transfer thing. I would rip the audio off of this video, put this on TikTok, and then put that on DistroKid, and that was the song. But basically, like, this would have been the first time I played I've Got to Get Sober all the way through. Like, I would just keep writing it and working on it, writing it and record myself, and maybe I would record myself 30 times over the period of like 2 months. You know what I mean?
Oh, but it's, when you say writing, you mean in your head, not actually typed out or written.
Right.
Anywhere.
It was just video. Like, it was mostly just videos.
Over and over, just videos.
I'm just trying to figure out how to make it. Yeah. But that's what all these are, like, the audio file from all these videos is what ended up on Spotify and all that. You know what I mean? Like,
it's cool to see these videos before you blew up. So this is a good song. You're playing out, guys. So what is this at the end?
Yeah. These were all.
Don't sell your soul, brother. This is the best music I've heard in a long time. That's a comment before you blew up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had about 10,000 followers or something.
What a fucking song. That's a good one.
And you gotta think, like, this was, like, that was when I quit drinking, you know what I mean? Like, so that.
But the troubles and the sin of the world that we're in knock me back off my feet.
So that's coming from your heart right there. And just imagine the thousands of people you helped with that.
Know how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
But it ain't gonna happen tonight. So pour 'em down strong till I drown. And if I wake up tomorrow when that sun comes back around, I'll be wishing I was sober.
It's so crazy how those cicadas and stuff come in. Like, I just felt like it was a god. I don't know how to.
Yeah.
The bird, like, that's just off my phone. All that stuff's just there, you know.
And the bowl, they've been saving my soul from the pain that the world's put on me. And Lord, I know that upstairs there's an old man who cares, and one day he'll set me free. I'll go on a whim, start writing the hills.
That's a genius of a song. That's genius, brother.
It's just
That's
cra-
genius.
It's just crazy to think about. Yeah.
And what's this one right before? What is this? Oh,
Yeah, so that's like probably the
and this
That
is
was
a nice
okay.
recording. Got it.
yeah. So this video got uploaded, and then Draven from Radio WV would have gotten a hold of me in between this and that. He watched this and was like, "Dude, he said we got to record that one." And that, like, so I didn't have it all. I just had whatever was in that video is all I had written. It was I think it was just the chorus and the first verse. Draven saw that video,
I said we got to do this one.
reach out to me to record, and he's like, no, we got to do that one. And I was like, dude, that's all I got.
Tell me about that guy, Draven.
He probably is like, he's probably like my best friend now. We hit it off with this, and we're like brothers now, I guess. But
Can you talk about like what he's doing for country, for music in general, for country music, for discovering talent, for like?
Yeah,
I mean, he's clearly sees something in people.
Yeah, he's just this. He's a little bit younger than I am, and he wrote music and played, and he's got some of his. If you look up Draven Rife, he's gonna kill me for even saying this, but he's got some pretty. Dude, he can. If he was like a pop singer, he would be like he can write the most catchy stuff ever.
Let's go.
Yeah, so click on like I don't know, like
Bye-bye.
yeah, there you go.
All right.